RTO here. Welcome to Wednesday Marathon. Today is a little bit different. It's not on one artist. It's on a producer, and it just tidies up the Jeff Lynne story. We're up to part 6, I think. So we're looking at Jeff Lynne, the producer. Apart from doing ELO, Travelling Wilburys and everything else, he produced all that, but he's also produced for other artists and co-produced and played on other people's albums. So what I've done, I've found out what he's who he's worked with and what he's done, and we've come up with a list. I've got 18 albums to look at, and the varied artists. Now, some of these albums I'd never heard before, so it's taken me a little while to get this one sorted. So we'll kick off. 18, we have an album by Brian Wilson, ex-Beach Boys, called Brian Wilson. Jeff Lynne played bass guitar, guitars and keyboards on this. It was voted one of the best albums of 1988 by NME as part of its acclaim, garnered the nickname Pet Sounds 88 among some critics. Okay, first track is called Love and Mercy. Might as well have been a Beach Boys song, personally. It doesn't sound any different. It's just churning up old sounds, not inspiring at all. Walking the Line, again, these songs, Melt Away, Baby Let Your Hair Grow, Little Children, One for the Boys, There Are So Many, Night Time, Let It Shine, Meet Me in My Dreams Tonight, and Rio Grande. They're all, it's just nothing new. It's just basically rechurning, regurgitating that Beach Boys sound. I can't believe the critics like this, because I don't like it at all. It's nothing new. I've heard it all before, and okay, I know I like rock music's the same, but he was just trying to make it sound like he was still in 1966, and I'm sorry, I just don't like this album one little bit. So I'm just going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10, because there's one good song on it ish that he wrote with Jeff Lynne, and it's not too bad. Sorry, I was expecting a lot from this album, and I just think trouble with the Beach Boys is I love the Beach Boys and love some of their albums, but it gets a little bit when these all sound the same. Okay, we'll swiftly move on. So coming in at number 17 is an album that he wrote some songs on here for somebody. The album is called Far, released in 2009. It was the 5th album by a lady called Regina Spektor. First track is not a Jeff Lynne track. Musically it sounds good, but I don't like vocals that speak more than sing. It's a pleasant tune. Then we got Eat, spelt W-E-E-T. It's quite pleasant until she starts singing. Then we get one of Jeff Lynne's songs. Nice song, but I don't like her delivery. Folding Chair, another little ditty wrote by Mr. Lynne. It's really good. It's actually the best track on the album. Not bad. Machine, just not my cup of tea. I just don't like the delivery of that. Laughing With, I love the music, but it's the voice. I don't like the voice. Again, I don't like the singing. Human in the Year, oh, terrible. Two Birds, yeah, next. Dance of Anthem of the 80s. It's a shame because the music is musically it sounds good. It's just the low vocal. Genius Next Door, musically it sounds great. Jeff Lynne does this. It doesn't do it any justice whatsoever. Wallet, another Jeff Lynne song, ruins it. One More, Fit the Feeling, A Man of a Thousand Faces. The melody's quite pleasant on that. Unfortunately, this style of singing is just not for me. I don't like it where you might as well just say the words instead of singing. It's not singing. But I do like the songs that Jeff contributed, and the lyric content is the best on the album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. I think I'm going to need to put the light on. It's gone a little bit dull. Just flick that on. That's it. I know it just makes it a little bit better. Okay, coming in at number 16, we have an album from 1990, Misbehaving, and the album is called Nobody's Angel. Jeff does some backing vocals on this one, and he produces tracks 2, 3 and 8. So on here we have actually got names of some people. It's got Anne Vig Scoven, Jeff Lynne, Lena Eriksson and Mette Matheson do the backing vocals. Bass guitar is played by Lena Eriksson, drum and percussion Mette Matheson. Guitar Anna Vig Solven and Lisa Cabby, I don't know. Duncan Bridgman and Jeff Lynne do guitars as well. Keyboards is Duncan Bridgman and Jeff Lynne. So he's quite involved on here, and the vocals are Lisa Cabby. First track, Making Love in the Snow. Excellent little track. Got no problems with that. Nobody's an Angel. Jeff Lynne produced this track. Absolutely belter. She's got a nice voice. Given the right production, it sounds a little great track. Then we get You're Wrong. I love the again, produced by Jeff. Great song. It's got them touches of Jeff Lynne. You know it's Jeff Lynne. Pretty good. Next track, Suzanne. The production's totally different. It hasn't got that depth. It hasn't got no beef to it. It's a good track though. Lean on Me. It's not bad. Give Me What I Want. Nice little rocker. I quite like that one. Make Me Smile, the Steve Harley. I don't like that version at all. So we haven't had anything that's produced by Jeff since track 3. Get to track 8 and all of a sudden the production is a lot better. It's a really good track. Have Mercy, it's not a bad track, and Tiptoe's pleasant enough. I don't think this is a bad album actually. I think if Jeff Lynne had produced the whole album, it'd have been a better album. I'm not just saying this because I'm a big fan of Jeff Lynne. I'm saying this, I looked at it as objectively, and I think the tracks that he does produce on here are much better than the others. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.8. Okay, coming in at number 15, we have an album by a young lady called Julianna Raye. The album is called Something Peculiar, released in 1993. And on here we've got Phil Jones on percussion, a certain Richard Tandy on the piano, And also playing on here on guitars, bass, keyboards, and producing the album is of course Mr. Jeff Lynne, and vocals of course are Julianna Raye. Limbo, nice little rock track this is. From that first 2 minutes of the song, you've got a Jeff Lynne production. Very, very good. I'll Get Back. This is very quirky, a little bit different, but Jeff Lynne does like a little bit different. It's got some great sax in it, great stuff. Tell Me I'm Alright, nice track again, nice catchy tune. Taking Steps, this is my favourite track on this album. It's a lovely song, written. She's a very good songwriter, is Julianna Raye. Nice words, nice production, all round great track. Peach, yeah, I love this as well. It's just typical Jeff Lynne production on a song, wonderful. Something Peculiar, musically it's good, but she's starting to just talk and more than sing, and it sort of put me off. Roses, it's a bit poppy in places, well produced as usual, with a great saxophone solo in it. Absolutely top draw stuff that solo is. Laughing Wild, I could imagine ELO doing this. It's a great track. In My Time, some great playing here by Jeff on the guitar. Telly's delicate tones on the guitar, lovely track. My Tribe, another good little tune. And then Nicola, wonderful. I love Richard Tandy on this. He's playing the piano and it's a beautiful song. I think this talented songwriter, and working with Jeff Lynne must have been pretty cool for her. He brought the best out of her. The keyboard work on this, of course, some of the piano work from Richard Tandy is very good as well. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 14, we have an album by rock singer Del Shannon, released in 1991. Sadly, after he committed suicide in 1990. It features also Tom Petty. This was co-produced by Jeff. He also plays guitars and keyboards and bass. Obviously Del Shannon does the vocals and guitar. Mike Campbell is guitar and keyboards and bass and backing vocals. Tom Petty's on here doing guitar and backing vocals. Benoit Tench plays the accordion. Howie Epstein's backing vocals. Phil Jones, who's drummed with a few people that Jeff's worked with, is on here, and Richard Green the fiddle. Walk Away. This is a song wrote by Del Shannon, Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne. Very pleasant tune, nothing wrong with this one. Great little track. Who Left You? It's alright. Are You Loving Me Too? Okay, pleasant enough. Calling Out My Name, I like this one. Good little rock track. I Go to Pieces. Again, it's pretty good. Nothing special. Listenable. Lost in Memory. Again, very pleasant. I've Got You. That's all right. What kind of fool you think I am? I don't like this track at all. I think Del Shannon's voice is horrible. Then When I Had You, it's okay. And then Let's Dance, all of a sudden we've gone to a country song and it's just not very good. Okay, so it's an okay album, well produced of course, but I was never a great fan of Del Shannon, although there are some really good tracks on this. But I'm going to give it a 6.1 because there are some really nice songs on here. Okay, coming in at number 13, we have an album by a certain Ringo Starr, released in 1992. Time Takes Time. He's got lots of people on here. I'll just mention a few of the names. Brian Wilson's on here, Harry Nilsson. Obviously Jeff plays on this and he co-produces this album. First track is Way to the World. Not a bad song, not a bad vocal from Ringo. Pretty cool. Don't Know a Thing About Love. I like the tune. It's a nice little rocker, but I don't think Ringo's the best singer in the world. He only works on certain tracks, and that one he didn't. He seems a little bit off key. Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go. Right, little rocker. Not bad from Ringo, you know, it's just an average. Golden Blunders is just, I've just put in my little crib sheet notes, no. So we'll move on, shall we? All in the Name of Love, that's quite a little chilled out number, a little bit countrified, but it's not too bad at all. After All These Years, great little rock track, nothing wrong with that one. I Believe in You, my favourite track on this album. Great vocal from Ringo on that. That song suits his voice. Runaways, yeah. In a Heartbeat, I don't like that one either. And then one What Goes Around is a good little track to end the album. Again, this is a little bit of a hit and miss album. I'm not a great lover of Ringo's vocal. He's a drummer. He's not a drummer who can sing. He's a drummer that dabbles in vocals. But very strong production, and I think they did some of the tracks they did try and make Ringo sound good. I think it's a pleasant enough album. I listened to it all the way through, and I listened to it a couple of times, and yeah, I just love the music side of it. It's pretty good. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. So coming in at number 12 then, another album he made with a former Beatle. This time we're looking at Paul McCartney. This is his 10th album. It was released in 1997. It's Flaming Pie. There's a couple of songs dating back to 1992 because they feature Linda. James McCartney, his son's on here. So we got Paul McCartney on here, Jeff Lynne, Steve Miller, Linda McCartney, James McCartney, Ringo Starr, and it was produced by Paul McCartney, Jeff Lynne, and the legendary George Martin. The first song on this album is the song we are singing. Like this track, really, really good. The World Tonight, yeah, another great track. Great vocal from Paul. Very pleasant song. If You Wanna, again, very solid track. Great vocal. Some Daves, another good track. We've got Steve Miller on this. It's pretty cool. Young Boy, love this track. Excellent. Calcio Skies. This is just Paul and a guitar. It's great. Flaming Pie. Great little track from Jeff and Paul wrote this. Must have been a bit of a buzz for Jeff to be working with Paul McCartney, one of his heroes. It's quite funny, you know, Jeff's a legend and he's working with one of his idols. Pretty cool. Then we got Heaven on a Sunday. Nice little catchy tune this is. Great guitar solo. Then there's a track called Used to Be Bad. He does a duo with Steve Miller, and it sounds great. Two great singers, two great rockers. Souvenir, really pleasant song. Little Willow, I think this is the one that Linda does backing vocals on. She has quite a nice voice suited for backing vocals. Really nice song. Really Love You, song he wrote with Ringo. Great little track, very Beatles of course, and it's good. Beautiful Night, great track, more Beatles sounding stuff, and I love that. Great Day, nice little ditty to end the album. I would say this is probably one of Paul McCartney's best albums. Is one of his later albums. Great musicians on here. Production is spot on. You know, when you've got Paul McCartney, George Martin and Jeff Lynne working together, fantastic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 11. It's one of the albums he worked with Tom Petty. Produced this. This is Tom's third and final studio album, Highway Companion, released in 2006. It's amazing who turns up on here. It's Tom Petty, Mike Campbell, who's worked with Jeff before, Jeff Lynne, and it's produced by the three of them. First track is Saving Grace. I think the start of this is very ZZ Top. Not as heavy as ZZ Top, but it's got that feel. Really, really good track. Square One, nice slow track here. Some great guitar work from all three of them. Spot on. Flirting with Time, really strong track. Love Jeff's guitar work on that. Lovely. Down South, as it says, it's about the South. It's simply a good track. Jack, great bass line in this. Again, a very catchy tune, what you expect from Tom Petty. Turn This Car Around, great combination of great bass and guitar. Awesome stuff. Big Weekends, typical sort of track from Jeff. You know that he's involved in this. And big bold sounds, great vocals and harmonies, super stuff. Night Driver, Jeff's guitar solo on that is awesome. Damaged by Love, one of those songs that could be sung by anyone that Jeff's worked with. You can imagine it could have been a Wilburys song, it could have been a George Harrison song. It's just a great song. This Old Town, again solid, nice riffs, nice sound to it, awesome. Ankle Deep, classic, Tom Petty, awesome. The Golden Rose, one of the only tracks I don't like by Tom Petty. I just didn't like it. Another stonking album. I mean, I love Tom Petty anyway, so I'm always going to praise this, but it's a solid album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, coming in at number 10. This is an album called Get Up. It was the 13th album by Bryan Adams, and we will be featuring him on a retro ranking very, very soon. Released in 2015. You Belong to Me. Yeah. Instantly you know Jeff Lynne's producing this. It's just that sound, and Bryan sings brilliantly on that. That's a really good track. Go Down Rockin', it's got that great Bryan Adams feel to a song, added with Jeff's production, top draw stuff. We Did It All, it's just great rock and roll, great singing, great production, great music. Then we got That's Rock and Roll, great track from Bryan. It's got that sound that Bryan loved, and it's just with the Jeff working with him is just give it that extra bit of oomph. Don't even try. It's just got the production of Jeff Lynne all over this. Awesome stuff. Do what you gotta do. Nice little sort of Bryan and Jeff singing on this. Great song. Thunderbolt, solid. Yesterday, it's just so Jeff Lynne ELO, and it's a great track. Brand New Day, again, one of them songs that anybody could have sang. Brilliant. I think this album actually saved Bryan Adams a little bit. He'd gone through that ballady sort of sound. He was going through a little bit of a rough patch, but working with Jeff made him come back to the roots of rock and roll. And of his later albums, this is probably one of the better ones. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay, coming in at number 9. This was the 12th and final album that he worked with George Harrison. Brainwashed. It was released on the 18th of November 2002. It was a year after his death. How this came about, George's son Danny got all this stuff and he wanted to put it out. So what they did, they went back into the studio, did some overdubs, were completed by Danny, session drummer Jim Keltner, and well, who did he think would help them put it together? He went to George's longtime friend Jeff Lynne. So this is how we got this great album. Jeff answered the call from Danny. So we've got George Harrison on here, Jeff Lynne, Danny Harrison, Jim Keltner. Got some guests on here as well. We've got Mike Moran, Jools Holland, Joe Brown, Herbie Flowers, Ray Cooper, John Lord, Sam Brown, Joe's daughter. Great sounds and great album. So here we go. Any Road. Great track. Great guitar work from George. You could just imagine this could have ended up on a Travelling Wilburys album. It's that good. P2 Vaccination Blues. Great little blues rock number. Love it. Pieces Fish. Very, very good. Again, some great guitar work. Looking for My Life. Typical sort of song from George, with the help of Jeff, of course. I think that was one they may have done together. Rising Sun. Great George Harrison guitar solo. That's Rising Sun. Marara Blues. Love this track, my favourite on the album. Great bluesy rock number. Stuck Inside a Cloud. Another great track. Love listening to that one. Run So Far. You know Jeff Lynne's had some input on that. It's so good. Never Get Over You. Some great guitar work on that. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. It's just one of them nice little tracks. It's got a very 40s sounding to it. You've got Jools Holland's playing on this. Herbie Flowers is playing on this. Absolutely brilliant. One of my favourite tracks on the album. Rocking Chair Hawaii. It's got that rock Hawaiian sound with some great guitar. And Brainwashed. This is my favourite track on the album. The piano is done by Mr. John Lord. Got Jeff's backing vocals. Great vocal from George. and some great guitar work. Great album. So good that this album got out thanks to Jeff and Danny, and what an album. So I'm going to give this Sonatio ranking a 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 8, another legend rock star that Jeff's worked with, Dave Edmunds. This is his 1984 album Riff Raff. We've got Dave Edmunds on here, John David, Paul Jones, Manfred Mann on the harmonica, Richard Tandy's on this, Terry Williams plays drums, and Jeff Lynne is the man in charge in production. First track on here is a track called Something About You. Now if you like a bit of Dave Edmunds, this is a typical Dave Edmunds track. Great guitars, great vocal, really good. Breaking Out. Now this is a little bit poppy, and it could have ended up on The Balance of Power. This is a song that Jeff wrote. It's very much in that vein. It's a bit of a Cool in America type track. It's pretty good. Then we got Busted Loose. Great rock and roll here. Dave Edmunds is fantastic on that track. Far Away, another Jeff Lynne song. It's a good track. The melody's quite different, but it's a solid track. Rules of the Game, quirky rock and roll. Very, very good. Steel Claw. Richard Tandy's comes to shine on this one. Telly's keyboards anywhere in the world, fantastic. SOS, another Jeff Lynne track. Great rock and roll. And Dave Edmunds sings it brilliantly. Hang On. I like the start. The keyboards on here are very 80s sounding. What's this? That's 2016. What's going on? Then we get How Could I Be So Wrong? Nice little track. Then Can't Get Enough. Classic Dave Edmunds. Great harmonica from Paul Jones. My favourite track on the album. Great bluesy rock number. It's a good album. It's I just love the album. I mean, I like Dave Edmunds, and even when Jeff hasn't worked with him, he makes some good albums, just Dave Edmunds. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay, coming in at number 7, another one of Jeff's friends, Roy Orbison, King of Hearts. This is a posthumous album. Roy sadly died in 1988. Mystery Girl was released, which we'll be looking at in a minute. Several songs during them sessions weren't used, but they found that Jeff had got enough material for a new album, so some of these songs were recorded as demos as well. So he managed to take demos and turn them into some great songs. First track on here is You're the One, classic Roy Orbison. He wrote this with Bill Dees and T-Bone Burnett. Great song. Love Roy Orbison's voice. Heartbreak Radio, wrote by Frankie Miller, another good little rock star. Jeff Lynne, great rock and roll number, and Roy delivers on vocals. We'll Take the Night, another nice song. You just love listening to Roy Orbison. Crying, a great track, and he does a duo with KD Lang on here. Great song and a great duo, work well together. Nothing wrong with that version at all. After the Lover's Gone, this is one of them tracks I think that was a demo, but Jeff worked his miracles on it and turned it into a really solid song. Loving Time, one of Roy's country style songs. I'm not a great fan of country, but I do like Roy singing on this. Let me get a classic. I Drove All Night. Absolute belter of a song. My favourite song on the album. I love that song. Co-wrote by Jeff Lynne. Brilliant stuff. Wild Hearts Run Out of Time. Again, lovely vocal, great production from Jeff. Coming Home, very basic but really good. Then on here we get the original demo of Careless Heart, which is a song that's on Mystery Come. But what he's got here is it's very minimal. Jeff's cleaned it up and he's made it sound fantastic. Great way to end the album. This is a fantastic album. Great job by Jeff to give us one more album by the sadly missed Roy Orbison. 52 is not an age to die. He should have been still here making music. But on the whole, this album is good. It's an album that I own, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in number 6. Again, this is Roy Orbison. It was his 22nd album, and it was the last album to recorded during his lifetime. He completed it in 1988, a month before he was died. They released it in 1989. On here we've got Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Mike Campbell again. It's all them same people that turn up on these albums. All people that have worked with Jeff. Jim Keltner on the drums, Howie Epstein, and Beaumont Tench again. All these people have worked with Jeff. It's just like mates getting together, isn't it, really? Opens up with the brilliant track, my favourite track, one of my favourite tracks by Roy Orbison, You've Got It. It could have ended up on a Wilburys album because it's wrote by Roy, Jeff and Tom. Great track, one of the best tracks by Roy, of course. I love it. In the Real World, another great song. Roy Orbison is just a fantastic singer. Great rock and roller. Made some classic songs, of course. All I Can Do Is Dream You. A little rock and roll number. Great production from Jeff. Everyone's playing out the top drawer on that. A Love So Beautiful. A typical song. It was written by, co-wrote between Roy and Jeff. This is probably one of the finest singing. I'll start again. This is one of the best songs that Jeff and Roy ever sang together on. It's lovely. California Blue, again a song that could have ended up on the Wilburys album. If they'd have made another, it could have, because it's just great. You got, Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne and Tom Petty. Great song. Then we got She's a Mystery to Me. Now, when you listen to this, you think, oh, this sounds like a U2's track. And you're absolutely right, because it's wrote by Paul. It's credited to Paul Hewson, who we all know is the real name of a certain singer called Bono. It's a really good track. The Comedians. This is co-wrote by Elvis Costello. Yes, he's just got himself in the name. He doesn't want anyone to listen to Oliver's Army because it's all written about bad things. Oliver's Armour is a great song, Elvis Costello. I will still listen to it. I don't going to take any notice of you But again, this is a good song he wrote. I just hope he doesn't pull the plug on this. The only one, I'd say it's one of the weakest songs on this album. I'm not a great lover of it. Windserver, great guitar work on this, fantastic. You make me feel like crying. Classic ballady type track from Roy Orbison. Great way to end the album. This was the album that sort of revitalised Roy Orbison's popularity, and it's just so sad he wasn't around to see how well this album did. But it's a great album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 5 is another album he worked on with Dave Edmunds again. This is Information from 1983. Also marked the first time that Edmunds had collaborated with an outside producer, and he chose Jeff Lynne. I wonder why. So on here we've got Dave Edmunds on the guitar and vocals, Geraint Watkins accordion, John David bass, Jeff Lynne was bass and synthesizer, Dave Charles on drums, Paul Jones on harmonica, and Richard Tandy on the synth. Slipping Away, a song wrote by Jeff, opening riff, you know it's Jeff. Great track. Don't You Double. Do you know what that? This sounds a little bit like Hold On Tight. It's that sort of feel to it, and it's a good track. I Want You Bad. The synthesizer on here, you know who's playing on it. It's got that Richard Tandy feel to it. Great stuff. Then we get Wait. This is a great 70s rock track. It's gone back to the 70s. Some great harmonica from Mr. Paul Jones, one of the finest harmonica players outside of America. I think he's just a great all-round man. To Watch My Wrist. I don't like this track. I just didn't get on with it. The Shape I'm In. We got some bit of accordion, a bit of a country yeehaw type track. It's okay. Information. Out comes the accordion again, and I don't like that one. Feels So Right. Now this is a proper rock track. Excellent track from Dave. What have I got to do to win? It's 280s. He's even Dave Edmunds fell into the trap of 80s garbage rock. Don't Call Me Tonight. You know Jeff Lynne's playing guitar on this. It's got them dulcet tones. Last track, Have a Heart. Great rock track. Great rock and roll from Dave Edmunds. A well produced album by Jeff. It's got a couple of iffy tracks, but even there, the country tracks, the production on them is fantastic. Even though I don't like them, I appreciate the production, and I'm going to give this an album of RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, then coming in at number 4, an album that he recorded with George Harrison. Cloud 9 was his final release of his lifetime, 1987. So we got George Harrison on here. Jeff Lynne is doing all this music on it as well. A certain Eric Clapton plays on this. A certain Elton John plays on this. Gary Wright, Jim Horn, Jim Kelter's there. Here he comes up. Ringo Starr, Ray Cooper, and Bobby Cock on the cello. First track is Cloud 9. Great vocal from George on this. And then we got a great little guitar solo from Eric Clapton. Nice track. That's What It Takes. Great track. There's another great solo from Eric here, and some great guitar work from Jeff as well. Fish in the Sand. Another fantastic track. Again, lovely production from Jeff Lynne on that. Could have been an ELO song. For today, really nice piano here from Gary Wright. Awesome. This Is Love. Another great track wrote by Harrison and Lynne. Got some sitar on this, so it's going back to his Hare Krishna type days, whatever you want to call it. Really good. And then we get my favourite track on here, When We Were Fab. You couldn't get more Beatles if you tried. It's just so Beatles, isn't it? And it's a really good track. Devil's Radio. A certain Elton John's piano can be heard on this. Very, very good. Someplace Else. This is mellow and so pleasant. The Wreck of Herpes. Again, we've got, I'll call him by his real name, Reggie Dwight. Plays the piano on that. Very good. Breath Away from Heaven. I didn't like this. It's too much plinky plonky Far East, and it just doesn't work. And the last track on here is the big hit from this album, Got My Mind Set on You. Great track. Great album by George Harrison. Jeff Lynne working with one of his friends. What a breeze. Easy stuff for them too. And I'll give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, coming in number 3. Another album that he worked with Tom Petty, but this time it's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers from 1991, Into the Great Wide Open. After the success of another album, he decided he pulled Jeff in to work with the Heartbreakers. So we've got Tom Petty, Mike Campbell, of course, Beaumont Tench, Howie Epstein, Stan Lynch. Jeff plays on this, Richard Tandy plays on this. Opens up with a fantastic Learning to Fly. Classic track. Love this song. Everyone loves that one. King's Highway. Again, one of those tracks you know that Jeff Lynne's got his fingers in. The sound's just great. Into the Great Wide Open, title track. Jeff Lynne style, guitar's great. What more can you say? 2 gunslingers. This is basically ELO meets the Heartbreakers. Great combination, a fantastic song. The Dark of the Sun. I mean, I love Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and then getting Jeff on board was just giving them a little bit of a boost. Brilliant stuff. All or Nothing. This is a terrific. Love the guitar work on this. Fantastic. All the Wrong Reasons. Nice song. I don't know if it's mandolin, but it sounds like mandolin. This really adds to that track. Too Good to Be True. Typical Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers song. Just added with Jeff's input. Out in the Cold. Great rock and roll track this is. Fantastic. You and I Meet Again. Another brilliant song. Love that song. Making Some Noise. Heavy rock and roll. Love it. Built to Last. Probably the weakest track on the album. Another solid album. Again, made the Heartbreakers sound, brought them back to life. Terrific album. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay, coming in number 2 then. I have another great man that Jeff worked with. This is Analog Man by Joe Walsh of the Eagles. It was his 11th solo album. So on here we've got it's co-produced by Jeff, and Jeff plays on this. So you've got Joe Walsh on here, Jeff Lynne, Bruce Sugar, Joe Fattel, Richard Davids, Greg Lees, Tim Armstrong, Dale Peters, loads of people on this. Backing vocals by David Crosby and Graham Nash. Absolutely stunning lineup of people and a great album. First track is the title track, Analog Man. Great track. Great guitar work from Joe and Jeff. Fantastic vocal from Joe on that. Love that track. Wrecking Ball. Again, great guitar work. Joe's unique voice. Pretty cool. Lucky That Way. Solid Ringo Starr drums on this. Really good. Spanish Dancer. Now I love the Spanish guitar play, but it's actually played on an electric guitar, and I think it sounds really good. Band played on. Nice little rock track there. Family. Not one of my favourite tracks. One Day at a Time. Oh boy, can you tell Jeff Lynne produced this. Absolutely brilliant track. High Roller Baby. Funky guitar in this, not too bad. Funk 50, short little track. Nice little vocal from Joe. Last track, India. Pretty good. Excellent track to end the album. Enjoy this album. It's got some great musicians on it. Great production again from Jeff. And a truly good album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay, my number one favourite album that Jeff Lynne has produced and played on is an album we've already featured on RTO in the classic albums. Spoke highly of it then, so I'm going to speak highly of it again. We're talking about Full Moon Fever from Tom Petty, released in 1989. Features lots of people on here. We've got Tom Petty, Mike Campbell from the Heartbreakers, of course, Jeff Lynne, Phil Jones on drums, George Harrison, Jim Kelter, Beaumont Tench plays on it, Howie Epstein. Don't know how this didn't end up as a Heartbreakers album, I don't know. And Roy Orbison does the backing vocals on Zombie Zoo. Free Fallin'. You know what, love this song. I just love that song. It's one of the best on the album. Then we get I Won't Back Down. Great guitar solo from George Harrison on this. My favourite track. Love Is a Long Road. Great track. It's almost Heartbreakers stuff, isn't it? Brilliant. Facing the Crowd. Love that track. I just love the arrangement on this. Running Down a Dream. Excellent track. Love the riffs in that. Feel a Whole Lot Better. One of them great sounding tracks. Now this was recorded in 1988-9, but this could have been recorded in 1959. It's got that feel to it. You're So Bad, again, it's one of them songs. It's very 60s sounding. Superb track. Depending on You. It's just basic rock and roll with a lovely clear production. The Apartment song. There's no reason you shouldn't like this. It's just rock and roll, isn't it? All Right Now, one of those little acoustic numbers, and it's so good. A mind with a heart of its own. Great rockabilly. One thing that Jeff's good at is doing rockabilly, as he did on his solo stuff. Awesome stuff. And the last track, Zombie Zoo. Love this track. Love Roy's backing vocals on this. Just about hear him, but you know it's Roy. As we know, we've already talked about this album, so if you knew a little bit, you knew this was going to be my number one. It is one of my favourite albums of all time, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay, well, that's pretty much Jeff Lynne. But apart from working with the surviving members of the Beatles separately, Jeff did also got them back together when they found that recording of Free as a Bird, and they put that song out. So, you know, he got to work with one of his favourite and most influential bands, the Beatles, which must be a pretty good thing for Jeff to work with the Beatles. Wonder if he'd have ever worked with John Lennon if John Lennon hadn't left us so drastically. Who knows? There's one for thinking about. Okay, well that does wrap up the Jeff Lynne story. Been a great travel through Jeff's work. Fantastic musician, fantastic producer. Always brings the best out in people when he produces them. So next week we start on another rock and roll journey. This time it was, remember when we did John Lord and the Pole, we're going to do the runner-up. And the runner-up, of course, is Ian Gillan. There's lots to look at. Although we have done the studio albums of Deep Purple, we'll go be part of the Ian Gillan story. We'll be looking at the live albums of Deep Purple. So plenty to get on with that one. That is all this for today. For some reason the light has disappeared near enough. Can't believe it's first thing in the morning and it's dark. So we'll be back tomorrow. We've got Then and Now, and we're going to look at a band that sort of keep getting under the radar a little bit. They made some really interesting records. We're going to be looking at Dokken tomorrow. Also, we got the artwork, and in anticipation with the new Jethro Tull album coming out at the end of the month, we're going to be looking at Jethro Tull covers. Now, there's so many albums and that, so this is actually my own personal Jethro Tull collection. So we'll be looking at the covers of my collection of Jethro Tull. All that for tomorrow. Have a good day. I will see you all tomorrow.